Hi guys, let's talk about chapter 3 in this video. So we're going to talk about interdependence and gains from trade. We're going to visit some old information learned chapter 2. So your production possibly frontier will come very handy in this chapter. All right, so again, remember production possibly frontier, we're going to show, we're going to compare that for each economy, each country, each company, each individual, between two good, what's the maximum number of production each party can produce given the available resource and the available technology. So for our example here, for this interdependence and gain from trade, now remember trade, we need two people, at least two people, right? So we're gonna have two people here. I'm gonna have Ruby, he is a cattle rancher, and then Frank, he's a potato farmer, and then we're gonna have production of two good, so they can produce either meat or potatoes. And then both people here would like to eat both meat and potatoes, so nobody wants to eat only one thing. Now, you know what? I don't like how this is set up. So guys, let me do this. Let me have this information. Let's use my my OneNote, and that's probably easier to demonstrate this point. Give me a new note, new page. All right, let me write down the information first. Okay, so we have zoom in too small. All right, you have this table here, which shows you two individuals. We have farmer, Frank, and then Ruby, the rancher. And then for each, we have these two little box. The first box shows you minutes need to produce 1 ounce of each good. So for farmer Jack there, Jack would take him 16 minutes to produce 1 pound of meat. It would take him 15 minutes to produce 1 pound of potato. And then for Ruby, the rancher, it would take 20 minutes to produce 1 pound of meat, and then 10 minutes to produce 1 pound of potato. And then on the second table here, it shows you how much each person can produce given the available 8 hours. So for farmer Frank can produce 8 ounce of meat and 32 ounces of potato. Ruby, the rancher, can produce 24 ounces of meat or 48 ounces of potato. Now remember, this is not they can produce both good at the same 8 hours. Is either or. Okay, so either 8 ounces of meat or 32 ounces of potato, or 24 ounces of meat or 48 ounces of potato. Okay. Now we're gonna draw our PPF. So remember, for PPF, that is two good, each going on each axis. Now for this two table here, this minutes need to produce each one. We don't need this information. What we need is the second table here. So this, how many meat you can produce, how many potatoes you can produce in 8 hours. This table here is what you need to draw your PPF. So let's draw the PPF. Let's do farmer Frank first. So Frank. Now for Frank, we're gonna do. Let's do meat on the vertical axis, and then let's do potatoes on the horizontal axis. Now to draw the PPF, we're gonna do it very simple. So we don't need to know any points in the middle. All we need to know is the two end point. Now remember, for this 8 and 32 here, this is not together. This is either or. So either produce 8 ounces of meat or 32 ounces of potato. So at maximum, Frank can do 8 ounces of meat and then 32 ounces of potato. Okay, and then once you have the 2 points, connect these 2 points. Then this line is Frank's PPF. All right, and then next we'll do the same thing for Ruby. So Ruby here. Now for Ruby, again, let's put the meat on the vertical axis. So Ruby can do 24 ounces of meat and then 48 ounces of potato. And then let's connect these two. So this is Rudy's PPF. Now, once you have the two PPF, the next step is very crucial because we're going to find out which person is good at what, and therefore this person can produce, can specialize in the production and then trade with the other party. Now, if based on the numbers here, looks like Ruby can produce more meat than Frank. At the same time, Ruby can produce more potatoes than Frank. So if this is based on who can produce more, then we can see Ruby has both advantage. But trade is not based on that. Trade is based on something else. Trade is based on your opportunity cost. So remember this, guys. Trade is based on opportunity cost. Whoever have a lower opportunity cost will be specialized in the production, and that's what the advantage is. So to find opportunity cost, you guys, you don't have this in the book. It's something I use, something I find very useful in my studies, and I want to share this with you. I call this method the 4 price method. So we're going to find out the 4 prices. Now, these 4 prices, so we have 2 parties and two parties, 2 good. Therefore, between 2 and 2, we have a total of 4 prices. We're going to have the price of meat for Frank, the price of potatoes for Frank, the price of meat for Ruby, and then price of potatoes for Ruby. All right, now to do the 4 prices, we're going to set up a very simple fraction. And then for this fraction, all we need are your maximum number level productions. So for Frank here, all we need, the only number we need is either the 8 or the 32. That's the only number we need. And then for this, we're going to set up a very simple fraction. And then for this fraction, let me erase this one first. So we'll put 48 over here. All right, so for this fraction, whatever price you're looking for, the max number of the production goes on the bottom of the fraction. So let me repeat. Okay, so whatever you're looking for, so looking for the price of meat, then the maximum number of meat you're producing, that number goes on the bottom of the fraction. So for Frank here, Frank can produce a maximum 8 ounces of meat. So 8 goes on the bottom of the fraction. And then on top, that's the maximum of the other good. So 32 ounces of potatoes. And then let's simplify it. So 32 divided by 8, you have 4. Now, this unit behind it is very crucial. Okay, so for what? Now, it's not $4, it's not £4, not €4. This opportunity cost is in turn of the other good. So this unit here, now looking for the price of meat, this must be in turn of potatoes. That means to produce 1 ounce of meat, it will cost you 4 ounces of potatoes. Okay, and then we use the same method for potatoes over here. So Frank potatoes, again, maximum potato is 32. So 32 goes on the bottom, and then 8 meat goes on top. And this simplified is 1/4. Now this again is meat now, okay? Because looking for the price of potatoes, that will be in turn of meat. And yeah, maximize this. Let's do the same thing for Ruby. And then for Ruby, looking for the price of meat. Maximum number of meat is 24. So 24. And then potato goes on top, that's 48. So 48 over 24, this is 2 potatoes. So to produce 1 pound of 1 ounce of meat, it will cost you 2 ounces of potatoes. Now for potatoes, we flip it. So 48 goes on the bottom now. 24 goes on top, and this will be half meat. Okay, so this is the opportunity cost of each good for each party. So for Frank, 1 ounce of meat costs you 4 ounces of potato. For Frank, 1 ounce of potatoes costs you 1/4 ounce of meat. For Ruby, 1 ounce of meat costs you 2 potatoes. And then for Ruby, 1 ounce of potatoes costs you ½ ounce of meat. All right, so once you have this 4 prices written down, the next step is to find out which party has the lower price on which good. So for Frank here, now let's look at Frank. Frank, for 1 ounce of meat, it costs him 4 potatoes. And then for Ruby, 1 ounce of meat costs you 2 potatoes. So which means this is lower than we say Ruby. He has the advantage in the production for potatoes. That means it will cost him less in terms of, Ruby has the advantage in production for meat because in turn it costs him less in terms of potatoes. Okay. Now again, compare these prices here. Whoever have a lower price in the price for meat, that's the advantage. That means Ruby, this rancher here, he is good in the production of meat. Now, on the other production for potatoes here, for Frank, it costs him 1/4 ounce of meat. For Ruby, costs him 1/2 ounce of meat. This is lower, so we say Frank, he has this advantage in the production for potatoes. Now, the reason why we need to know this, because once you know what your advantage is, each party can specialize in their advantage and then trade with the other party. So when we say specialize, we mean that country only produced that one good. So for Frank will specialize in the production for potato, because that's what he's good at. So Frank will produce only 24 potatoes. And we can call this point. So 24 and 0, this is Frank's production point. And then for Ruby, since he's good in meat here, because it only costs him 2 potatoes, so Ruby has a very low price on meat. So Ruby will specialize only in the production for meat. So we call this Ruby's production point. So guys, if you want, label those 2 points on your own graph. Okay. Now we're gonna trade. Let me see if I remember the numbers correctly. What's my turn of trade? Okay, here we go. So 5 ounces of meat and then 15 ounces of potatoes. All right, so for this trade, we're gonna send 5 ounces of meat. And Frank will send 15 ounces. What's it, 15? That handwriting. 15 ounces of potatoes to Ruby. Okay, so now let's look at Frank first. So Frank, he's producing at this point, and then at this point, he's producing 0 meat, 32 potatoes, and then when he's receiving 5 meat, so once he trade, he will have 5 meat, and then he will send away 15 potatoes. So he produced 32, he sent 15 away. He will have 17 left. Now let's grab this point. Now let's find the main point first. So right in the middle, this is 4. And here in the middle, this is 16. Now we're gonna graph this 5 and 17. So 5 meat, that will be this point here. 17 potatoes, that will be this point here. So 5 and 17, and then this 2-point meat right here. So this becomes their consumption point. But guys, remember what we learned in chapter 2 that for any PPF, if it's on the line, we call them efficient, right? If it's inside the line, we call them inefficient. And then if it's outside the line, we call them impossible. Look at this. So when Frank is trading with Ruby, Frank has more of everything now. And then Frank is able to consume this point that's outside of PPF. So Frank is better off because for Frank, by himself, he can never consume at this point C. Trade with Ruby, he has more of both goods. He's now able to consume at a point that was never possible before. So Frank is better off with trade. Now let's look at Ruby. Maybe Ruby is worse off. Then maybe this is a zero-sum game. Okay. So if Ruby is producing at 24 ounces of meat, so he's producing 24 meat. How do you spell meat? And he's producing 0 potatoes. Now remember, at this point, we have 0 potatoes, okay? So we're producing 24 ounces of meat and 0 pounds of potatoes. We're going to send 5 pounds away. There will be 19 meat left. And then we're going to receive 15 pounds of potatoes. So 15 pounds of potatoes. Now, let's graph this point here. Oh, my graph is not ready to scale. So let me do a half here. That's probably something better to look at it. So 24, and this is 12. We're going to look at 19 and 15. So 19, that's probably over here. That's 19. 15 is probably close to here. That's 15. Now let's find this point. So here, let's also call this point C. All right, so for Ruby, look, something amazing is happening. He's also able to consume a point that's outside of his PPF. So what are we saying here is that both party, doesn't matter what your trade is. Once they trade, both party is able to consume a point that's outside of their original PPF. And we call this gains from trade because everybody is better off when they're trading. Okay, so remember this: when people trade, when country trade, each country can consume more than what they can do before by themselves, and we call this gains from trade. So trade is good. Trade is good. So when each country is able to realize what their advantage is or their opportunity is, and then specialize in their production, and then trade with other parties, then this country will be better off. Okay. All right, so some definitions. So first, what is absolute advantage? So for absolute advantage, is the ability to produce a good using fewer input than other producer is called the absolute advantage. Now let me give you a simpler definition. So absolute advantage is whoever can produce more of the good. So go back. So whoever can produce, oh, come on. I need to do this. Edit. Where do we go? All right, so absolute advantage is the ability to produce more of the good. We call this absolute advantage. So in our example there, remember Ruby can produce more meat. Ruby can produce more potatoes. So we say Ruby, he has the absolute advantage in the production for both good. Now, the other one, comparative advantage. So comparative advantage, again, let me give you a better definition. So comparative advantage is whoever can produce the good at a lower opportunity cost. We call this the comparative advantage. Now remember we did the 4 prices. Discard. Show me the 4 prices. 4 prices. All right. Remember these 4 prices here. That Frank cost him 4 potatoes for 1 meat, and then for Ruby only cost him 2 potatoes for 1 meat. So Ruby for meat here, he has a lower opportunity cost. Then we call this the comparative. So as long as you have a lower opportunity cost, then you have a comparative advantage. And in the production for potatoes, for Frank, it costs him 1/4 of meat. For Ruby, it costs him 1/2 of meat. So we say Frank has a lower cost of, Frank has a comparative advantage in the production for potatoes. And then for absolute advantage, it's possible for one party with both advantage, but for comparative advantage, it's always one party advantage. So if you know Frank hates good in potatoes, that means automatically Ruby must be good in meat. Okay, so for comparative, it's always one party, one comparative advantage. All right, got it? But again, for absolute, it's possible for one party to have both absolute advantage. And then trade is based on your opportunity cost. It's based on your comparative advantage. That if you have a comparative advantage, that means that's what you're good at. That's what you should specialize and trade to other countries. About this. More definitions, import, export. So import, they're good produced overseas, sold at home, called import. And then export, they're good produced at home, but sold overseas, that's called export. Now, guys, I know if you follow our current political climate, many people believe import is bad, export is good because we have more jobs. Okay. Now, guys, I'm a fan of South Park. So if you watch South Park, go to YouTube, type in South Park, and then search for "They took away my job" or "They took away the job." It's pretty funny. So job argument is one argument against import. Now, however, guys, import is not that bad. We're gonna talk about this more in chapter 9. Okay, but for now, just remember that import, there is stuff that we buy from overseas, and then export the stuff we sell to overseas. Trade with other countries, of course, we should trade with other countries because each country have their own specialized ability. I mean, if you look at all the labor-intensive work, so let's say producing a T-shirt. Now, can we produce T-shirt in America? Of course we can. Really, 40 years ago, even as late as 1970s, US we produced the best T-shirt. But why don't we don't do them anymore? Because T-shirt production is very labor-intensive, doesn't require much skill. So we let the lower labor cost country produce T-shirt for us. That's why all the T-shirt you buy today, they either coming from Vietnam, China, Cambodia, because those countries have a lower labor cost, and then this T-shirt doesn't require much capital or skill involved. So we like those countries, that's their comparative advantage, and they produce T-shirt for us. But if you look at all the airplanes we have in the world, they're either Airbus, which is produced by Germany and France, or they have Boeing, which is produced by us. Now, why do we produce Boeing over here in America? Because we have the technology, we have the skilled labor, and that production, the technology intensive, capital intensive production is our specialty. So we specialize in those goods, and then that's why we sell airplane to other countries, and the other countries sell their cheap product to us. Make sense? All right, so should country trade? Of course we should trade, okay? Let me see what else. All right, so that's it for this chapter. Now, guys, I know this chapter has a lot of math involved. I'll upload more videos online, show you how to do different problems on this topic, how to find your comparative advantage, how to find your absolute advantage, how to do the 4 prices. But remember this, when you guys looking for comparative advantage, it's always which party have a lower opportunity cost. So to do this type of problem, the first thing you do the 4 prices. Okay, remember the 4 prices we said over here, this fraction here. Do the 4 prices. Okay, so whatever you're looking for the price of meat, then the maximum number of meat goes on the bottom, and then potato goes on the top. Looking for the price of potatoes, then the maximum number of potato goes on the bottom, and then meat goes on top. So whatever you're looking for, that maximum goes on the bottom of the fraction. The maximum goes on the top of the fraction, and then simplified, and that's your answer. And then this unit is always in turn of the other good. So when you're looking for the cost of meat, it's always in turn of potatoes. So to produce 1 meat, how many potato you must give up? And then vice versa, to produce 1 potato, how many meat you can give up? Okay, so guys, that's it for this chapter. So again, look out for another video that I will show you guys. I would demonstrate more problems using this concept. And then have any question, don't hesitate to email me. Okay, guys, remember, I'm always here to help you. Okay, so guys, I will see you in the next video. All right, good luck. Bye.